This is severe, emotional, physical abuse. There's no way around that. This is depraved conduct.
Shackled to their beds, starved, and denied the ability to bathe. 13 children held captive for years, victims of extreme abuse and torture. Today, the Riverside District Attorney's Office details the disturbing case it's building against two parents in a case that has shocked the nation.
Those parents were shackled themselves, only this time as they appeared before a judge.
It's the first time the public sees the couple outside of photos in the case known as the House of Horrors.
And David and Louise Turpin sat quietly to hear the charges against them. They are charged with 37 felonies, including child abuse, torture, and imprisonment. David Turpin is also charged with a lewd act on a child under 14 by force or fear.
And CBS 2's Dave Lopez is live in Riverside with the court appearance and more horrific revelations of the abuse. Dave?
Well, Pat, horrific may not be a strong enough word. In fact, I don't think there's a word we can use on the air that would describe what we heard and what we are now learning about this case. We can tell you, if the right word to use is solace, the only solace in this, or the only light at the end of the tunnel, if you will, is the fact that there is no evidence, according to the district attorney, that the 2-year-old baby suffered any torture or abuse. That's why you have 12 counts against them instead of the 13. That being said, the other 12 went through a horrific life. An absolute horrific life, the way it was described by the DA. 57-year-old David Turpin and his 49-year-old wife Louise appeared in court today, both chained around the waist and the legs. Some of the charges they face of the abuse involves chaining their 12 of their 13 children to either a bed or a piece of furniture.
Do you understand that, right? Yeah.
That's the only time they said anything in the court today, when asked by their attorneys if they understand that they are waiving their right to a preliminary hearing within 10 days. Their attorneys entered pleas of not guilty for each of them.
One of the children at age 12 is the weight of an average 7-year-old. The 29-year-old female victim weighs 82 pounds.
And Riverside District Attorney Mike Hestrin was only beginning to describe what was going on inside that House of Horrors in Perris.
None of the victims were allowed to shower more than once a year. That as a punishment, starting many years ago, they began to be tied up. The victims were often not released from their chains to go to the bathroom.
And during a search of the home yesterday, detectives say they took journals in which many of the victims wrote down what was happening.
The punishments included frequent beatings and even strangulation.
Detectives say if the children would wash their hands above their wrist, that would be punished because they were playing with the water and messing around.
The parents would apparently buy food for themselves and not allow the children to eat it.
And detectives say there was cruelty in how they displayed the food.
Pies, apple pies, pumpkin pies, leave it on the counter, let the children look at it, but not eat the food.
And when asked, why would parents even do this?
I don't know that I can answer that completely, but I'll tell you that as a prosecutor, there are cases that stick with you, that haunt you.
When asked, how did the children respond when sheriff deputies entered the house on Sunday?
They're relieved, I will say that.
He said the 17-year-old who escaped early Sunday morning and flagged down a deputy had planned to escape for 2 years.
She escaped through a window and took one of her siblings with her. That sibling eventually turned back, became frightened and turned back, and went back into the house.
When asked if these children were brainwashed, he replied, I don't know. And when asked how could they get away with this for so long?
You know, crimes like these happen behind closed doors, in dark rooms, and so, of course, people who commit these types of crimes have to hide their crimes.
The couple never looked at each other in court today, not even a passing glance. Again, a not guilty plea from each of them. Their bail is $12 million, $1 million for each accusation against each child. In my 45 years of covering this town, I have never, ever heard the type of evidence today from a district attorney involving so many children. As for the children, the only comment they would make is they're recovering, but they have, such a long way to go. Back to you in the studio.